Hey guys, it's Sam from Gemini, and today we're going to be talking about the reasons why people quit martial arts. Booyah! First and foremost, hope everybody is doing well as always. So today's video can be discussing why people allegedly quit martial arts, and I say allegedly, and when I say quit, I have inverted commas, because first and foremost, I don't believe that quit is the right word to use when people leave martial arts. The longer you get involved in martial arts, you'll see people come, you'll see people go, some people stick around. And the thing with martial arts, it's very person-centered, and everybody gets involved in martial arts for different reasons. People stay in martial arts for different reasons. Sometimes those reasons why people start change over time, and then people leave due to different reasons as well. So we have to bear in mind that martial arts practice or being involved in martial arts is very organic. It's not stagnated. Some people may join for one reason, but that reason changes over time and they end up leaving due to different reasons. So I've often heard it said, and I've seen it on social media, the bane of my existence, social media. I've seen it said numerous times, and I've heard it said at competitions, seminars, classes, so-and-so has quit martial arts. Or a post will come up on social media and be like, top 10 reasons why people quit. And I am going to say, I think that is very unfair to say that people quit martial arts, because the word quit, it has a very negative connotation to it. And even just saying quit sounds negative, or to me anyway, it just sounds a very negative kind of word. So I think we have to kind of look at the reasons why somebody stops doing a martial art before we can say that they've quit. Like, for instance, let's take an example of myself. I've been very open in recent videos about my abuse, which I've received, or I received historically by one of my instructors in martial arts. And one of the reasons why I actually stopped practicing that martial art was because of the abuse I received. This abuse had affected me emotionally, it affected me psychologically, and when I decided, or I realised actually that this abuse was taking place, I wanted nothing to do with this martial art. Because I associated this martial art, I made a correlation between this martial art and the abuse I was receiving. So I decided to stop practicing this particular martial art. Each time I saw this martial art's name, whether it was like in a book or online or in passing, it was almost like a trigger for me. It just brought back those associated connecting memories of my abuse. So I made a conscious decision to leave that martial art, stop practicing that martial art, and I actually went on to another martial art, which turned out to actually be one of my favourite martial arts I've ever practiced. And the martial art I went on to actually helped change the course of my actual martial direction and martial training for years to come. So actually quitting, as some people would say, that original martial art to go to a new one, actually turned out to be one of the best things I did in terms of my martial arts life. So with that being said, one could reasonably argue I didn't quit anything, I just changed the direction of where I was going. I was walking down one road, I saw a path going off somewhere else, and I decided to go down that path. I didn't quit that road, I consciously left it to go somewhere else. So that's an example of replacing one variable with another, substituting one course of action onto another course of action. How about, though, when somebody stops training martial arts and they don't replace it with something? Could they be said to have quit? Well, some people could say yes, because you've left a martial art, so you've created a void, but you've not filled that void. But I still think then we should still look at the reasons why that person stopped before we jump to the conclusion. Remember, a judgment always comes at the end of a trial, not at the beginning. Or indeed, it should come at the end, unless it's a kangaroo court, in which case judgments are made before you even step into the dock. But let's look at now the reasons why some people would stop training in martial arts. Now, This is broad and vast, and we could talk about this for hours, and we just don't have that kind of time. Common reasons, though, could be financial. You know, we're going through a cost of living crisis. We've just come out of a pandemic. People don't have enough money. We're in a recession. And people have to prioritize, especially if they have families. They're prioritizing their finances, and sometimes paying for martial arts lessons just isn't a top priority. They may have a lot of love for the martial art, but we have to make sacrifices. We have to tighten up our belts. So finances, especially if you're paying at a school where you have to pay a contract or you're paying a whole month's lessons up front, that's a lot of money. So we have to take that into consideration. Maybe they've left wanting to get their finances in order before they then come back in, which I think is reasonable. Personal reasons could be health. Now, I've trained with numerous instructors who scorn this health reason. They call it a health excuse. Oh, they quit because they said that they had a health injury. Well, okay, that's your opinion, but the older you get, the more prone you are to get injuries. When I was in my teens, my 20s, I never got sick. I never got ill. I was getting bashes and bruises all over myself from sparring and stuff, and it never affected me. I just bounced back, twice as strong. I found the older I get. Now, this is a byproduct of age. It's not due to my lack of fitness. I'm 35, and for a 35-year-old, I'm actually fitter than the average 35-year-old. But the older I get, I can't run as fast as what I used to. I can't run as far as what I used to. I can't train for as long as what I used to. So I don't think health is an excuse for why people leave martial arts. I think it's actually a very valid reason, especially the older student. You can slow down the onset of various health deteriorations. You cannot stop them. And that is just a sad fact of life. Sooner or later, you're going to get out of bed and you're going to twinge your back, or you're going to find that, you've got arthritis in your leg. I had a sparring injury on my arm at the beginning of last year. I was sparring a friend, and I had some issue with my arm, and it took a whole year for my arm to properly, fully heal up again. The older I get, I'm just going to get more of those kind of injuries. So I think when people leave martial arts for health reasons, it's valid, provided they're older. If you're a bit young and you're 15-year-old, I've got arthritis. I can see the suspicion on that, but I do think that people leaving martial arts for health reasons does carry some validity to it. Let's also think about family commitments and work commitments. Now, when I first started working in health and social care 12 years ago, I was working shifts all over the place. Earlies, lates, long days, sleep-ins, waking nights. I did not have a proper 9 to 5. I was working all the hours under the sun in order to make ends meet so I could pay my rent. I don't rent anymore, I own. But I had to think about, do I have the money or the finances to support me living? Can I afford to put food on the table? Can I afford to pay my bills? Can I afford to pay my rent? And I'd have to sit down sometimes and say, okay, I can only afford this month if I clocked in an extra overtime or 2 or 3 this month. And sometimes then I'd have to look at martial arts and say, okay, well, I'm going to have to sacrifice the martial arts training in order for me to do this shift, in order for me to get this money, in order for me to pay this bill, in order for me to not get evicted. And especially when you start getting into the career aspect as well, when you go from casual jobs to career direction, your career becomes much more important to you. Being able to put that food on the table for your family, being able to kind of make yourself in the professional world, to get recognised in the professional world, to get payment. And I appreciate this sounds very capitalist, what I'm saying, but money does talk, and money does open doors, and money provides you what you need, the bare necessities, the clothes on your back, the food on the table, the days out with your family, all require money, bills to pay. It's a sad fact, but we do have bills to pay, and we can only afford to actually enjoy life by doing work, or putting work as quite a top priority. And a philosophy I recently came to terms with was, you sometimes have to do stuff you don't want to do so you can then do the things you do want to do. And sometimes that means actually, again, putting martial arts further down the ladder in priorities. What would you rather do? Go to work today and make 240 quid to help support your family? Or would you phone in sick and go off and do some martial arts training for an hour and lose that money? And really, what have you got from that martial arts? What means more to you? Supporting your family and loving your family, or going off and practicing some kata or something like that? You know, a lot of people would say, okay, the work is more important, and a lot of people could disagree with me. That's fine, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm quite certain and convinced that most people would actually come down in favour of saying, yeah, supporting my family is going to be more of a priority. As well, and this next reason can actually apply to both adults and adolescents as well. Sometimes people leave martial arts because they find other hobbies which interest them. They may try martial arts and they're like, yeah, okay, you know, this is okay. However, they then come across a new activity and find, actually, I'm much more enthused about this new activity, whether it's rugby, football, or tennis, or squash, or swimming, or, you know, joining a running club, whatever. It's irrespective of what the actual activity is. Point being, they may find an activity which they gel much better with. They might physically be better at that activity. They might actually find the people they're training with in the new activity much more better people. They might feel as though they're actually getting more of a kinship and a brotherhood with those kind of people. And if they then decided to leave their martial arts to go and do this other activity because they're getting a better sense of quality of life, or they're getting a better sense of holistic fulfillment from doing this new activity, why should we hold a grudge against them? They're only doing what is best for them, and I don't think that we as martial artists should bear a grudge. And I think if a martial arts instructor does bear a grudge against a student who goes off to do something which is in their best interests, that instructor is a prick. I was actually about to say the C word there. I was like, no, I'm going to restrain myself. So, but a manager once said to me, when I was leaving a job and I spoke to a manager, and the manager said to me, I will never stand in the way of somebody who wants to do what's in their best interests. And that stuck with me. And I'm one of these guys, I like to take inspiration from loads of different variables in life. I don't just take my inspiration from martial arts. I take it from anything. Experiences I've had, work, friends I've made, people I've met, enemies I've met. I take inspiration from everything. And this manager, even though I didn't necessarily like this guy, that quote he said, I will never stand in the way of somebody who wants to do what's in their best interests, that stuck with me. And when I got to becoming deputy manager in health and social care, and people were coming up to me handing my notices, I would say the same thing to them. So I'm not going to hold this against you. I appreciate what you're doing is in your best interests. Who am I to basically force or coerce you to do something you don't want? So if you want to leave and pursue another career, here you go. Here's a good reference. You have my blessing. I hope it all goes well for you. Do let me know if it doesn't work out, and we'll see what we can do. But good luck. And I'll shake their hand. And I'll wish them well. I've not seen many martial arts instructors do that. And again, I'm just speaking from my experience. There could be some really nice instructors out there who would wish that student all the best. But from my experience, probably only a couple, I'd say. A couple of instructors I've had would do that. The others wouldn't. They'd be bitter and bear a grudge for years. Guys, can you think of any reasons why people may leave martial arts? And again, we're not talking about quitting martial arts. We're talking about why people may leave martial arts. Family reasons, financial reasons, health reasons, new hobbies. Maybe they didn't gel with the crew that they're rolling with in martial arts. Maybe the instructor didn't work that well. Being a trainee counsellor, one of the important lessons I've learned with therapy is that therapy will mostly work based on how good your relationship is with your therapist. If you have a good working relationship with your therapist, chances are therapy would work for you. If you have a bad relationship with your therapist, chances are therapy is not going to work. And I believe the same applies to martial arts. If you have a good instructor, you can go so far with them. You could learn so much. If you have an instructor who is abusing you or doesn't have your best interests at heart, you're not going to go far at all. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. We've all been there. We've all thought about leaving martial arts at some point in our lives for various different reasons. There's a comment section down below. use it, abuse it, spam it. That's what it's there for. Like, dislike, subscribe, be a cool dude, and just let me know, because this is actually a topic I am genuinely interested to actually hear what your views are. And I know I say that quite a bit, but this one I think is actually, this one is deep, and I'd love to hear from your experiences and your thoughts. So let me know down below. In the meantime, stay safe, train hard, keep listening to Iron Maiden because they're the best band around, and I'll see you on the next video. Whee!